seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things. People. Love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Check engine or ABS light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The KFH Studios, powered by Devon James Injury Lawyers. Call 888-8888.
That's 888-8888.
From the Accident Recovery Team Traffic Center, don't worry about me, I called ART.
Traffic.
Some heavy and very slow-moving traffic on eastbound Kellogg. It starts at about Broadway, the Central Business District area. Backup goes all the way back past Seneca. Traffic update from 98.7 and 1330 KNSS. In the Accident Recovery Team Traffic Center, I'm Jad Chambers.
Weather.
Partly to mostly cloudy skies. Should be pretty dry throughout much of the day until we get to the late afternoon and evening hours. That's when there's going to be a 20% chance of showers and storms. One or two of those storms could be strong or severe with damaging wind gusts and large hail. Still going to be warm, high of 79 degrees. With your Storm Track 3 forecast, I'm meteorologist Ronald Williams.
Kansas Fan Headquarters, 97.5 and 1240 KFH Wichita, KNSS HD2 Clearwater, and Odyssey Sports Station.
Hey Wichita, it's Jacob Albrock. Stay right there for the latest breaking in sports talk. It's Sports Daily coming up next exclusively on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
I'm Taylor Bisciotti with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The Super Bowl champion Eagles are among 17 teams kicking off voluntary off-season workouts Monday as clubs gear up for Thursday's NFL Draft in Green Bay. Philly also locked up Pro Bowl center Cam Jurgens, agreeing to terms on a 4-year, $68 million contract, according to NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport. Jurgens, who replaced the retired Jason Kelce last season, is now the second highest paid center in the NFL by average per year. The Jets exercised the fifth-year options on 3 of their 2022 first-round picks. Corner Sauce Gardner, receiver Garrett Wilson, and edge rusher Jermaine Johnson, according to general manager Darren Muji. The Seahawks have 4 quarterbacks on their roster after recently signing Drew Lock as a backup. General manager John Schneider saying the Lock addition doesn't preclude the team from drafting a quarterback. The Seahawks have 10 picks, including the 18th overall. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this. If something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albrock and Tommy Kester.
Hey, welcome in, everybody. Happy Tuesday to you here on Sports Daily. It is Jacob Albrock and Tommy Castor. We've got Max Power producing, and we are getting you ready for the return of Royals baseball today. Now just a couple of days away from the first round of the NFL draft, coming to us from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Why not? Why not? It'll be, I hope the weather's good up there. I haven't even looked at the, what that's going to look like. Those fans are going to go nuts for it, though. It'll be awesome up there. I love the NFL draft, and the fact that it's moved it around and made it this kind of event is a lot of fun. So we'll have some draft talk. Our Chiefs insider Felix Johnson's going to join us today. News out of the transfer portal, news out of college basketball yesterday. We have the Royals getting back into action. Your calls, comments, always welcome. You can call us at 869-1240. You can leave us video comments on Facebook, YouTube, or X. Thanks for watching us on 12 News Connected. Thanks for listening to us on the Odyssey app. If you're listening to us maybe the next day, if that's when you are listening to us, you can also leave your comments on our podcast or on the Odyssey app. However it is you listen, you can just hit that little microphone button. It sends a voicemail. We get those. We can play those out over the air. So a lot of fun ways to be able to get in touch with the program. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. I had this realization this morning driving in to the Odyssey studios. It's a lot different now that the sun is basically up when I'm leaving and driving to work than it is in the wintertime. When it's pitch black dark at 6:30 in the morning as I'm driving in, it just makes my day, like, gets it started in a much more positive way. I feel more energetic. I feel happier. It's better. And I finally feel like we're not talking about sunrise when I'm leaving and going to work. I'm talking about the sun is basically up at this point, and it's going to be that way for a while. So I'm in a pretty good mood today.
Just interesting. That kind of happened when we were out of town in Hawaii. I got back, and then the first day back to the show, I'm like, it's light outside because I have like same routine, right? Get up, do your thing, and then get the kids ready, all that stuff. I agree, man. We're close. We're real close to be into that time of year where you just are outside all the time. Yesterday was beautiful. Today will be beautiful, and we get rain chances tonight. So hopefully we can fill up Cheney Lake and all water our grass more than once a week soon enough. But for now, we'll deal with it. Royals are back tonight. I'm excited about it. I hope that they reacted well to the day off yesterday, and they can get back into action. There's a lot to get into, sort of. We talked to Jalen Thompson yesterday, which you can go back and listen to on the Odyssey app if you'd like to get sort of caught up. But this is an interesting moment for the Royals because that 10 games we can, or I can, or whoever, you can make excuses for it, to be quite honest. The next 16, you can't. So this is a pretty interesting moment for this team this year. To get it after a day off is probably a good thing, but there will be a lot to get to there. Andy Reid talked yesterday for the Chiefs, confirming the Kingsley Suamataia move to left guard, essentially, kind of laying out the plan for the offensive line that maybe helps us with the draft, which we'll talk about today. And then we get a few little news and notes in the portal. CJ Jones is in for K-State. KU with news on maybe Zeke Mayo trying to come back, waiting on it never ends. I was writing a script for TV yesterday, Tommy, on the CJ Jones, and I was like, yeah, we kind of got in just before the portal deadline. Then as I'm writing, I'm like, is there even a portal deadline? Like, we think there's a portal deadline, but it feels like there's nothing. Like, somebody might go in right before 2 days before the season starts, and if anybody wants to stand up to them, they'll be like, well, yeah, just take us to court because, you'll lose everything that you try to do that way. So I don't know. We'll get there when we get there.
It's certainly pure chaos, and I know we'll talk about the portal a little bit later on in the show, but it's crazy to me. Zeke Mayo entered the portal. The guy has no eligibility left, and there are a lot of players like this that don't have any eligibility left, but they're entering the portal with the thought that there could be a court ruling coming in a matter of days that could grant these guys extra eligibility, and they got to get in the portal before that deadline. So if and when that court ruling happens, they'll be available and ready to go for one more year of eligibility. The Zeke Mayo news is interesting because Gary Bedore from the Kansas City Star, one of the beat reporters for Kansas, he reported last night that Zeke Mayo has every intention, if he gets an extra year of eligibility, to return to Kansas. And so, like, the world of college basketball, it has, and college athletics in general, as we all know, is wild and crazy. It's turned upside down right now. And trying to make sense of it and heads and tails of it is really difficult, but it also makes it really entertaining.
I don't know. I don't like it. I can say that. I don't like it. But it doesn't bother me as much as it bothers a lot of people. There's this small part of me that's just talk to me when the season starts and we can collect our thoughts on it. It's hard to follow it, let alone emotionally invest in it too much because we just don't know the guardrails yet. And so it's just
I don't think anybody knows the guardrails. I don't think
that's what I'm saying. It's hard to.
I don't think anybody knows.
I don't think administrators know. I don't think players know. I don't think their agents know. I don't think the fake agents know. I don't think anybody knows. And so, yeah, you just get this guessing game. And so I think for a lot of people, it's just well, let's just loosely follow it and talk to me when the season starts and we'll see what the roster is. And I think that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. And then there's another part of it that is kind of fun to follow, right? It is kind of fun to see what is the thought here? How are they going to put this together? It's not fun to see players go in. I don't think anybody thinks that. But the free agency of it, once you're acquiring players, is sort of interesting, I guess. Again, I say it all the time, and I still believe it. I do think there will be a settling of things. I don't think what we're doing now will be what we're doing forever. But it's what we're doing now, and we try to follow it the best we can. And just like with the Zeke Mayo, you're like, oh, well, okay. I guess he could come back if they decide. And then you get into this, what is eligibility? What is that even? We've just made up this system over the years to say you get to do this for 4 years, and that's it. That's all you can do.
You add in the wildness of COVID a few years ago where players were getting extra eligibility for that. Then you add in red shirt. Yeah. There are all of these different things where you've got players that are playing 6 years, 7 years, that they're requesting additional eligibility. It's wild. And honestly, I've been pretty on record and pretty consistent over the years with my disdain for the NCAA and just the way that they run things, because I feel like they've always been way too focused on the wrong things, and they get petty, and they're not really protecting the interests of the schools or of the athletes for that matter. And so I feel like all of this could have been prevented or minimized if the NCAA had actually been focused on the right things. If it was hey, we know these players need to be compensated. We're going to try to find a way to put in guardrails and make it actually work out well. They didn't do that. They fought it tooth and nail, and now we're in this situation that we're in right now.
I totally agree. Right? This is a product of their own doing. There's no doubt about it. We've got a lot to get to on all of these things today. We're going to come right back. We'll give away a little HTO. Thanks to Prairie Fire Coffee for keeping us fueled up this morning. Don't go away. More Sports Daily right after this.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story, Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
83101 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you
and inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
KFH.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. It is Sports Daily. Jacob Albrock, Tommy Castor with you. Thanks to Crestview Country Club for being a great sponsor and supporter of the program. I'm going to head out to the driving range, I think, Tommy, between radio and TV today. I haven't been able to do anything for a while. I'm at least going to do that. And maybe I should, if I really want to improve my game, go putt on the practice putting greens and do the chipping thing and all the things that would actually make my game better. Maybe I'll do all of those things today, but man, it is just, you got to get outside because yesterday was as good as yesterday was. Today's going to be like that. I think even maybe just a tick warmer. It's going to be awesome out there. Get out, enjoy the outdoors, give Crestview a call and ask about all the different ways they can help you enjoy the outdoors because they got lots of them. We appreciate their support.
Man, by the time that you actually get all the practice in and everything, and you and I get out and play golf together, you might beat me. You might improve your game quite a bit if you're getting out and practicing a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be the first time in a few weeks, but my goal is to get to what would I want to be at? I want to be at like a 15 handicap by the end of this summer. That would be my goal. I've been around a 22, 23 with a foot wedge. So I got some work to do.
So more like a 30, basically.
I got a little. I got a little work to do. Yeah, on that. But my game is getting better. There's no question about that. It's just, look, if you're an average Joe golfer like me and you're not using the foot wedge, you're lying. So we'll put it that way. All right. What we were just talking about with the portal. You know what might light a fire under everybody to actually fix this? Wait until you have some high school kid at one of these mega schools that just loves it, and they try to play like a 5th year of high school sports, and it's like this, and then could you imagine the conversation at that point? Like, well, why can't we? What's preventing that from happening? Who says I can't? I'm making T-shirts that I want to sell. Like, the extreme of this is so ridiculous. Like, at some point, somebody has to be motivated and find the way that you can legally and logically say, here are the parameters to play college athletics at XYZ level, right? Like, this is what you have to do. And I don't think it has to be as complicated as they've made it. I think it just is, because everything gets tied up in court and it takes a long time and you have to have all these precedents. Like, if lawmakers really are looking for political footballs 24/7, and they are, like, get together and help them set some laws in place, please. Like, obviously they're not going to be able to be antitrust things. Like, you can't, but you could easily get in if they were motivated enough to actually focus on something and say, here's how this should work. Here's who can do what. Here are the laws around this sort of work and all of these things. And then you'd get there. The problem is you can't get there because everything's still tied up in court. So you have to settle out the revenue share. You have to settle out the, all these cases that are out there, but it will happen. I mean, it will. Something will. You'll get the political lightning rod somewhere. Something will happen, and it'll be like, we can't let that happen. And then it'll probably be a simple fix. I'm like, why did that take so long? But we'll get there.
Can you imagine what our world would be like if everybody was proactive on this 5-10 years ago, even prior to that, even earlier on? Like, let's be proactive and let's actually find a way, to fairly compensate players. And I know people are going to say, well, they got scholarships. Now, I'm talking about like the millions and millions and millions of dollars that these universities have made off the backs of these athletes. If people were proactive initially and found ways to fairly compensate these players and show them that they are valued and that the universities recognize the fact that these athletes are making boatloads of money for the institutions, then we wouldn't be in this mess right now. But we are, and it's going to get settled down. Things are going to be put into place, but it's going to be a struggle and difficult to get there between now and when the dust finally settles.
I always just tell people this, like, why in pro sports do the athletes make more than the coaches? Why do you think that is? Because they're more valuable to wins and losses. Now, in pro sports, you can keep them longer. But it's just, it's just like, why do you think that is? Why does LeBron James make more money than his coaches over the years? Why would Cooper Flagg make less money than John Shire last year? Like, why would that make sense? Who's got a bigger impact on them winning basketball games? And that is not a slight on coaches at all. Coaches are why do actors make more than directors in movies in Hollywood? Like, at some point, like, it's a shorter thing. You can do this thing that nobody else can do. It's a very unique skill set. And so it just has to be settled out. It's not like I can't keep hearing about these poor, whatever program. And I'm not talking about small schools, and I'm not talking about Wichita State. I'm talking about at the high, because you got to figure it out at the highest levels to be able to come up with something that can trickle down a little bit and understand what does this have to look like? What is sustainable here? And that's why lawmakers have to get in, because at some point it's not sustainable for the universities. They can't afford to do it. I mean, when you turn this over to the NIL, you had, okay, boosters are involved. It doesn't cost the university. Well, that got out of hand. So now the universities have to try and collect it, right? And now it basically is just turned into fundraising again. And at some point, the funds run out. And you've got Wichita State asking fans openly for $1 million to put together a basketball roster. So I don't know what that's the problem for me. And I don't ever want to sound like I have all the answers. I don't have any of the answers. I don't know what the end game is. I think it's work contract, but then they have to figure out insurance and they have to figure out all the things that come with employment, which is difficult. I understand. Got a couple of businesses. I know how hard that is. But I think that's probably the only path. And at some point, athletes are going to probably have to concede something to be able to fall into that a little bit. And why would they at this moment? Like I think it was yesterday or it was last week, it'll take some athletes getting broken promises and things like that. All of that will motivate lawmakers. Rick says it's funny we think lawmakers can agree on anything. And in philosophy, I agree with you on that, Rick. Lawmakers, they're a special group. Federal lawmakers are a special group, at least a lot of them. It's often theatrics, but it can be done. Look at gambling in Kansas. There was a mutual interest. Oh, it could raise revenue for the state. Oh, it could motivate the Chiefs potentially to come across the border. It was done like overnight, basically. When they want to, they can get things done quickly. And eventually they will, because there will be something so ridiculous that they all will be able to take this political football and say, well, we can't have that. Everybody agrees. You don't want to be on the wrong side of it, right? And you might get voted out. So we'll see. Anywho, the portal news of yesterday was CJ Jones goes in for K-State. I don't think it's all that surprising. Honestly, I don't think it's all that impactful. He was, I mean, maybe he could have been something. But to me, it was more of he was just kind of the last guy standing, as much as it was he's going to be this big difference maker for them this coming year. If CJ Jones was that kind of fit with Jerome Tang, don't you think he'd have done that last year? You know what I mean? It's not like him to be wasn't there last year. It was.
Right. And I also think that with CJ Jones, I mean, he showed flashes of being an impactful player for the Wildcats, but it wasn't like he was a major difference maker last season. And maybe he could have had a greater role. But I'm sure that the conversation with Jerome Tang was, hey, look, CJ, we just landed Nate Johnson. We're rebuilding this team. We maybe at one point thought that you would have a larger role on the team. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. We would still like you to be a reserve player like you were last year for us. I mean, he played like 18 minutes a game and averaged just under 6 points. I mean, it wasn't like he was majorly impactful. He played good minutes and was a decent contributor for the team. But I'm sure that that conversation was, look, like, your role is going to be relatively similar this coming season to what it was last year. And I'm sure Jones was like, all right, well, I appreciate that. And I'm going to enter the portal and see what I can do. He came from the University of Illinois, Chicago. I would imagine he'll probably find his way back to maybe not a school quite that size, but probably somewhere in between Kansas State and the University of Illinois, Chicago. It wouldn't shock me one bit if he ended up at like an American school. And I'm not suggesting it's Wichita State necessarily, but I think that would probably be the caliber of a program that I would think be salivating over the opportunity to get somebody like CJ Jones.
Yeah, look, the Shockers would be the kind of place, if you're CJ Jones, I would think, where you could go and have some success when you're going to step into a larger role. We'll keep an eye on that. I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't thought about him to the Shockers, but that does make some sense. He flashed. I agree. But if it was going to work with Jerome Tang, I think last year would have been the year. I think it's hard to imagine that relationship. And it's not like I'm saying that I don't mean to say like they don't have a good relationship. They might, but they might also have a good enough relationship where it's like you even if it's dollars as much as opportunity, like you wanted this much, we don't have that much. We're not going to motivate. Let's go see if you can get it somewhere else. Like go try, because he probably can. He can probably go get more than K-State has allotted for him at the moment. And so he's in. I don't think it impacts the Wildcats too much next year, one way or the other. Not because I don't think he's good or bad, but because I think they had other plans. So he's in. And then we get the Zeke Mayo thing. Gary Bedore and perhaps others reporting that Mayo is kind of in the portal, seeing if there's the way to get another year of eligibility. Now, I don't know where is that eligibility for him going to come from? Because he played 3 years at South Dakota State and a year at KU. He's not of the age to get the COVID year. And he doesn't have a red shirt and he didn't play junior college. So I don't guess I understand, Tommy, like what is he waiting for? What particular thing is he waiting for?
Yeah, it's going to come down to this court ruling, and I don't know all the ins and outs of it. I don't know what they're designating, as far as getting waivers for players that are supposedly out of eligibility to be able to play another year. But Zeke Mayo is not the only one. I mean, there are a lot of players that have entered the portal that have no eligibility left that are trying to get additional years. And it seems like the mechanism right now, the way I understand it at least, is that the only way, if the court ruling says that they can get an extra year of eligibility, the only way that will work, they've got to be in the portal before the ruling actually happens. And so that's why they're entering this transfer portal. And honestly, like I mentioned, there's a lot of players that have done it, but another one associated with KU is Shaq Moore. Shaq Moore has no eligibility left either. He entered the portal yesterday as well. Now, it doesn't sound like he's going to be returning to Kansas. It sounds like he would enter the portal with the intentions to go somewhere else if he's granted an extra year of eligibility. But what I thought was interesting with Zeke Mayo is that, and this is Gary Bedore reporting this, that Mayo has a do not contact tag on him entering the portal. So basically it's like he's in there waiting for the court ruling, but he has every intention of coming back to Kansas. And I would imagine those are conversations that Mayo had with and his team, his agents and whatever, had with Bill Self. Like, hey, there's a spot available for you if we're able to get you an extra year of eligibility, depending on the court ruling. Enter the portal now. We'll welcome you back with open arms. And if that can all, I don't know exactly how the stars have to align to get that done, but if that does happen, that's a pretty impactful addition for Kansas, because that adds another veteran on your team. Somebody, you were talking about this just yesterday, like who's on the team that is familiar with Bill Self outside of Flory Badunga. And if Zeke Mayo, who has a year under his belt under Bill Self and is a really good shooter, I mean, that's a really good benefit for Kansas.
He checks the last two boxes for them. They need a shooter, which, all the players that they brought in, and maybe Darren Peterson's a shooter. We don't know yet. They need a shooter, and they need Bill Self experience. He checks both of those boxes, and he enters the portal because if they get a ruling after KU already fills its roster, he has options at that point. But it's pretty clear that everybody involved would like to see him come back to KU, him himself. And we'll see. I'm not familiar with what court situation is happening now, though, that would just randomly grant extra eligibility for everybody. I'm not aware of what case that is that they're waiting for. The junior college case we're somewhat familiar with. The junior college, playing time doesn't count against 4-year, basically NCAA playing time, which that one I kind of think does make some sense, honestly. And then there's the rev share that's happening. I don't know what this other one would be. The portal stuff this is new to me, so I'll have to try to figure it out. I mean, there's a bunch of rulings happening, but Zeke Mayo back to KU, that would be. Look, people laugh at that, but there have been a lot of guys that play a lot of years and get their eligibility weird ways. I don't think it's all that unfair that just a regular player who's kind of played 4 years gets that same opportunity. I mean, we're talking about waivers and all these weird things guys are trying to get all the time.
Yeah. So John Rothstein reported on Monday, and this is a quote from him, I believe on X, where he says NCAA members will not discuss whether or not players will receive 5 years of eligibility moving forward via legislation until after a final decision on the House settlement has been made per an NCAA official. So there's, I think court cases going on right now where essentially it would grant every player a 5th year, basically 5 years of eligibility instead of 4.
Just skip all the waiver processes.
Right. Yep, exactly.
Okay.
And that's the way that I understand it, at least. But they're waiting on, it's going to have to go, obviously, a court ruling, but then there's going to have to be that settlement in Congress, essentially to get that done. But the way that the mechanisms, I guess, are working right now is that these players like Zeke Mayo and Shaq Moore have to have their names in the portal for them to be able to take advantage of whatever this ruling ultimately ends up being.
You know what's interesting about that? I don't, as you say that aloud, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. It is silly sometimes that we have to wait on all these waivers and, all this silly, can this guy do it with players now moving the way that they're doing? I always think like how difficult it's made it on high school players. And that's why I like the junior college talk of maybe junior college, because I think that's a path for more players now to eventually get there. And the reality is, if it takes you longer to get there, like if it takes you longer to be a contributor at a mid to high major program where you can actually make some money, that's probably where that makes sense, right? Give the player that's had to take a longer path because of all the movement and an extra year. I don't hate that. Because look, 5 years better than 4 years. Yeah. And if you told me we could take just a blanket 5 years and not have to deal with medical red shirts and red shirts that are not like, why not just give them 5 years instead of deal with a red shirt? I'd be on board with that. I think I'd be fine with that, because so many players get a 5th year anyway. Why take it away from the best players who contribute early in their careers? And this was where it would help smaller schools, I think, Tommy. Now, if you knew it wasn't going to hurt your eligibility and you knew like you had 5 years, going to South Dakota State for a year makes more sense. Yeah. South Dakota State's going to have to live with the fact that they're probably only going to get him for a year, but at least it makes sense that way. I could be on board with that.
Direct it locally too. I mean, it's kind of in the same realm as Wichita State a little bit, right? Like it probably helps with the understanding that, hey, you're not going to be able to keep these guys for the entire time they're eligible to play.
Or you can. I mean, I think for Wichita State, or you get your program where you want it, and maybe you can keep them, because I think that's the upside for Wichita State. All right, we'll come back. Let's talk a little Royals when we return. Don't go away. More Sports Daily after this.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite, or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood, written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
They say,
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of. It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now.
31001 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems
Why are they hiding it?
and real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
On KFH.
Welcome back in, everybody. It is Sports Daily. Glad to be here with you on this Tuesday. Tom and the Royals get back in action tonight. The Rockies are next up for Kansas City. It'll be Chris Bubich on the mound. This is kind of do or die early in the season. We talked to Jalen Thompson yesterday. He said a 3 out of 10. I think that's fair, but with the caveat that it could escalate to like a 6 or a 7 pretty quickly here. The Royals have opened the season with what we would, project, I guess, to be the most difficult portion of their schedule based on the games on the road, based on who they're playing, based on all of those things. They just wrapped up probably the most difficult stretch, at least those 10 games they played. Now they enter one of the easier portions of their schedule. They get the next 16 games against teams basically at or below 500. Now, not all of those teams are going to end up at or below 500, but you're getting them now rather than later when they all figure it out, right? So this is, and 10 of the 16, Tommy, come at home. So now the schedule's no longer an excuse. If they were to go 11-5 over the 16 games, they would be a game over 500 when they come out of it, which I think would be a great place to be, right? Even if they can go 10-6, whatever it is. Like that kind of looks like the range you'd like to get to. If they can come out of this at or right around 500, one way or the other, I think they'll be right back where they need to be. And you can just sort of look back to this stretch and be like, well, yeah, they kind of did what they were supposed to everywhere. But it's not easily, it's easier said than done because they just can't score any runs right now.
Well, and this series starting tonight will be a big opportunity for them to kickstart their offense. I mean, the Rockies are really bad. I mean, they're probably the worst team in baseball, one of maybe the worst 2 or 3 teams. And their pitching staff is among the worst in Major League Baseball as well. The ERA is really high. Their starters are not getting very deep into games. So the Royals have an opportunity to jump on the Rockies. And this is the timing of this is really, really good because you're looking at a team offensively that needs to jumpstart things. They need a spark offensively. And so now you're entering into a stretch of games and the first 3 right here where you've got, a team that they give up a bunch of runs and the Royals need to find a spark. And so I think the timing of it is really, really good. It's just going to be a matter of whether or not the Royals can take advantage of it.
You have a team that has not scored more than 4 runs in 16 straight games now. They have only scored more than 4 runs twice this season. They're both wins, by the way, twice this season. It's a big problem for this team. And I don't know what changes. That's to me, like when I'm looking at it, I'm not so concerned about the record over that really difficult portion of the schedule, at least not yet. I'm more concerned with like big picture. Where is this team going to generate offense? They had a season last year where late in the year, this was something they struggled with too, right? If you go back to the Yankees series, was sort of a microcosm of this. Like they're just struggling to drive runs in. There was a portion of last year where they were really, really good at that. And so look, Salvi's got to be better. Vinny's got to be better. Those guys that you were counting on, it's got to be more than Bobby Witt Jr. I think you have to start there. I don't think we should start with saying, well, they've got to have Kyle Isbell and Hunter Renfroe become, first before we get that far down, let's say Salvi and Vinny have to be better, right? The middle of the lineup must be better in this category. Salvi has been category, and I'm a Salvi guy. I love Salvi. He's not been good this year. He's looked pretty bad, and he's looked bad at first base. I think, for now, I think he needs to be DHing or catching. I think they can just sort of we'll just focus on hitting here for a little bit. If you're not going to bring up Jack Caglione, Salvi doesn't need to be playing first base. Just let him DH or catch. It's not that complicated. There's no reason Vinny Pasquantino needs days off from first base. Like that doesn't need to happen. So just let Salvi play DH or catch. He's got to get it turned around. Vinny's got to get it turned around. I think you have to start there. Those two guys have got to be better than they've been so far.
I thought that it was really interesting that Matt Quatrero on Sunday moved Pasquantino down to 7th in the lineup, trying to find any way to get a spark, trying to find any way to, jumpstart things a little bit. And, I know it was the first time in his career that Pasquantino with the Royals batted 7th. But at this point, you've got a streak of games where you haven't scored more than 4 runs. You have to go all the way back to April 4th for the Royals to score runs. And it's not like they're not getting runners in scoring position for an opportunity to drive in runs. They're just not capitalizing on the opportunities that they have in front of them. And so if you can move things around in the lineup a little bit, I mean, at this point, when you've got a lineup that is, scuffling the way that the Royals lineup is, I think everything is on the table. I don't think anything is sacred. I don't think anything is off limits. Maybe outside of the top 2 guys in the lineup, I don't think you touch India and Witt. But outside of that, I think everything's on the table. You've got, again, Salvador Perez is the captain, and he is an icon and all of these different things. And I'm not suggesting that you don't play him, but he's your cleanup hitter. And he hasn't been clutch at all. Let's just call it for what it is. He hasn't been clutch at all throughout the start of this season. So if you need to move him out of the cleanup spot, I mean, do it. Like, I don't think anything is sacred at this point. The Royals have to find ways to generate offense. And, really outside of Bobby Witt Jr. and Michael Garcia, those 2 guys are the only consistent offensive threats in the lineup right now. So, yeah, I'm totally okay with flexibility and trying to find whatever works to drive in runs and to break the streak of the number of games where they haven't scored more than 4.
Agreed. It's just, and you're not going to bat Salvi 9th.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not suggesting.
But yeah,
that.
if you need to slide him down to 6th for a while until he figures it out, go for it. And he will, I think. I don't think we're to that point of Salvi's career. And this first time, I mean, this is his longest stretch I can remember him struggling like this, but he is a streaky hitter, right? Like he can fill it up quick. Like he can be on and he lights it up like crazy. They just need that from too many guys. Like it's almost like the timing of everybody's streakiness is too synced up. Like everybody, because it's coming. They're about to, like, at some point here soon, like all of these streaky hitters are going to kind of start streaking at the same time. And it'll be like, oh, okay, now they're scoring 6 runs a game. Like, where did this come from? So it's just, you have to, you have to just let it play out to some degree. I don't know what little things can be done because there are so many guys in the lineup struggling at the same time. You just have to sort of ride it out a little bit, I think. And that's unsettling, but at least you're coming back home and you're playing teams that aren't good.
Yeah, and I go back to what I said yesterday as far as like ranking that concern level from 1 to 10. I'm okay with the 3 right now. Like I agree with Jalen. My concern level is a 3 probably for the Royals right now. If you go through this 3-game set against the worst team in baseball and a team that their pitching is not good at all, and you still can't generate runs, you still can't get runs across, then at that point, yeah, my concern level will go up. And so it's a 3 today on Tuesday. It might very well be a 6 or 7 come Friday as soon as they're done with this Rockies series. I hope it's not. I hope that they're able to generate offense. But if there is ever going to be a time to do that at home against one of the worst pitching staffs in baseball, this has got to be the time. We've got to see the Royals actually be able to capitalize.
Yeah, it's the yeah, I agree. I agree completely. I would probably be maybe not so much after the Rockies series specifically, but after like this stretch of games overall. I think I'd be ready to ramp it up real quick. Like if they come out of this and they're how many games under 500 are they at this moment? They're sitting there 5 games under 500. They go through this 16 game 16 game stretch and don't improve, being 5 games under 500. That'd be concerning. If they go and they're worse than 5 games under 500, now it's time to say, okay, like they're going to have to make a change. Like something is going to have to change. And the reality is, and I've said this a million times, I think that this will be a year they'll be aggressive. I think they're totally willing to go get a bat. The problem is right now, who can you go get at the moment? Like you basically have to shop the Rockies and the White Sox. Like who's gonna raise the white flag this early in a season? So it's not like they have a lot of options. But I might be taking notes if I was Piccolo on how these Rockies players looked right now. Like they have anybody in the outfield that can help us in a month? Because it'd be nice to get a look. I mean, honestly.
They can always do. Remember last year when I think they traded for Paul DeYoung with the White Sox, and it was when the White Sox were playing the Royals, and he just switch. Yeah. They could do that. They wanted to. They could do that this series. I don't think they will with the Rockies, but that'd be interesting.
It's too early. It's too early, even for the Rockies, but it's not too early for the Royals to be coming up with those plans. I think there's a difference in some of these guys are going to figure it out because they are, and do we have enough when they do still? Because right now, I'm not sure they have enough even when, guys get more up to what we expect out of them. I'm not sure that's still going to be enough because if it wasn't Melendez and it's not Renfroe, those are the spots they have to get better. They went into the season and thought, okay, those guys got better by the end of the year. Maybe that carries over. If it doesn't, they're going to have to make a change in one of those spots. And if it's not Caglione, then what is it? Here's an option I thought about yesterday as we watched Salvi struggle a little bit defensively at first base. I mean, why not just let Salvi catch and DH? Let Caglione come up and play first base, and you just rotate him, right? Does he have to play every day when he comes up? I mean, you'd hope his bat makes him play every day. And if Salvi DHs a lot now, could he catch every day? He would tell you that he can. Can Salvi be an everyday catcher at this point in his career? Like if they get to, let's call it early June, and he's hitting well and things are going. Cags is just at the point where it's like, all right, like you got to call him up. Could you just make Salvi your everyday catcher?
I don't think the Royals would ideally like that, but if you're
Well,
in
no,
a
they wouldn't.
situation where, it's desperation mode, maybe. I think it's more preventative than anything else, right? It's more like, hey, he's our captain and he's older and we need to, stretch out his career longer, make, all of these different things. It's preventative because I think the risk of injury and the risk of shortening his career, definitely goes up if he ends up catching every day. And that's exactly why the Royals didn't, they moved him away from being an everyday catcher a couple of years ago because of that fact.
But if Cags is going to contribute this year and they're not going to move him off of first base, that's the only path. Unless Vinny Pasquantino plays another position or they trade Vinny Pasquantino, that's the only path. I mean, if you have 3 first basemen, basically, you can only play 2 of them through the DH. I don't know what they'll do there. I mean, hopefully they don't have to worry about it. Hopefully they can just let Cags sit down there because they're getting enough offense. But, man, it hadn't even been close so far. They get going against the Rockies tonight. It's Bubic on the bump. And we'll see. It's a 6:40 first pitch for the Royals. They're big favorites in the game. Can you score more than 4? Can you give us a 5-run game? Let's start with 5. Can you give us 5? How about a 5-1 win for the Royals? 5-2. I'll give a little more leeway. 5-2 tonight against the Rockies. Can we have that, please? Is that too much to ask? We'll come back. Hour number 2 coming your way. Felix Johnson joins, talk NFL draft. We'll get to some of Andy Reid's comments before we talk to Felix. That's next on Sports Daily.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
What is GMFB Overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of... It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new local news live streaming app.
Make yourself known now. 31001 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospitalized from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albrock and Tommy Kester.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. It's another hour of Sports Daily. Jacob Albrock, Tommy Castor with you. Let's give away some HTO to start things off here in the second hour. You can get your hands on a free iced tea right now by texting the keyword TEA to 20357. You can enter once per day. Message and data rates apply. That's T to 20357. Try the more than 26 flavors. And while you're in there, maybe take a look at those energy refreshers. All new, 3 flavors. Pretty good stuff. If energy drinks are all the craze these days, HTO just launched 3 new ones. So good luck on that contest. Tommy, let's talk a little Chiefs here in this hour. We got Felix Johnson coming up, and we'll get into all of the things Andy Reid said as we get into this second hour. We'll do that when we get a little more time in our next segment. But he did talk. We're trying to decipher a little bit where we're going to go with this draft situation, and the Chiefs have all of these options that they have available for them. They go into a lot of these drafts this way. I think the Chiefs do a really good job before you get to draft day to give themselves a lot of options. There are some years where they have clear needs, but most of these years of this, of this run where they're picking at the end of the first, it's almost always kind of the same situation. It feels like, well, they could kind of do a lot of different things. Typically, they either reach on a player at 31 or 32 or wherever they're picking, or they just trade down. And I don't think that's going to happen this year. Back to our thoughts yesterday. I think they're going to move up for a player. I think if they really think there are 15 good players, they're going to see what falls, hope it's an offensive lineman, and be ready to move up and take their player. I think that's what they'll do on Thursday.
I don't know. I'm holding firm on what I said yesterday. I don't think that they are going to trade up. I think that they're going to stay where they're at. I think they'll probably go offensive lineman. I've not seen anything that moves away from that for me. And I know that Andy Reid talked about, how he feels about Jalen Moore and all of that, but he also left the door open. And I know Brett Veach has as well about, hey, if you see a young left tackle or a young offensive lineman in the draft that you like, then you take that guy and you develop him and see, the way that it goes. And hopefully, if they do end up going that direction, they pick correctly. They've not had a good track record in picking offensive linemen. That's just kind of the knock on the way the Chiefs draft. They've not done very well at that sort of thing. But I do think that if there's a guy that they like and they project, and I know I keep going back to a guy like Josh Simmons, and I want to get Felix's take on this in our next segment. But I do think that that's an opportunity for somebody that maybe they've graded out to be a higher first round pick, but they're able to get him at 31 because he's coming off of an injury. That I do think that that's probably a more likely scenario than them giving up additional trade assets to move higher up in the draft.
And they do have a good history with that. Trey Smith comes to mind, a player that would grade much higher but had an injury, which, when you have that kind of player have that kind of impact, it does, it makes sense to try that path again. I could totally see it, and I'd be fine with it. I'd be just fine with it. It'll be what's interesting to me is don't you wish you were a fly on the wall for one of these teams just to see their board and how much different it is? Like every team should be required. It should be a requirement. As the NFL gives us more and more access behind the scenes and Hard Knocks and all these Netflix shows, it should be a requirement after the draft that every team turn in their draft board. Like they have to have their official draft board, whatever it is. Like they have to give that to us after the draft. I'm being facetious here because of course that would be a terrible strategic move. But I just want to know what a team's like. Wouldn't you want to see what the Chiefs board looked like the year they traded up to take Patrick Mahomes? Like, where was he?
Absolutely.
Was he
what else was an option out there in the first round?
Well, or where did they really have him? Like, did they have him one because they knew that was the player? But then you have to play the game of, well, we don't need to do this yet. We got to kind of let him fall. To see where they have guys, because that's what, when I say they're going to trade up, and when we heard Brett Veach say, oh, we really feel like there's, what did he say, 15, whatever it was, first round grade guys, and then a whole lot of guys in that next tier. So the very top tier is smaller, but then that next tier is bigger. Like, what does that mean? I want to see your board. Because what I want to see is if a player falls, if you've got an edge rusher or Simmons, as you've mentioned, and you actually have them very high on your board, where did they have Felix Uzama when they took him? Where was he on their board? Was he high on their board? Or does he have a special asterisk of you know what?
If he's available, if he's there at 31, we can maybe reach for him. I think that's probably more what it was.
Here's a reach guy, because I do that when I do fantasy football or baseball drafts or whatever. You've got that column over to the side. It's these are the guys I want to end up with. But it's where do you take them? And you're you know what? Let's just take one now. We're just going to take one of these guys. Is that where he was, or did they actually have him graded that high?
Maybe, but at the same time, I would rather do that in the 5th or 6th round. Hey, here's a guy that, you know what?
Totally.
He's a rugby player. Let's go ahead and reach for him.
Nice.
Right? Not in your first round. And that's why the Felix Uzama pick or the Clyde Edwards-Helaire pick, you look back on and you're probably wasn't the right decision to make in that moment with that particular pick. If you're going to have a reach column, and I'm totally fine with that, maybe not have it in the first round.
I agree. And that's what I mean. Was he though? I think he probably was graded high. So I just want to see, where they have guys versus where they took them or how it all played out. That to me would be so fascinating and helpful. And of course the teams again would never want to do that. It would be so helpful to see it though. What does that even, because this year's draft is great. If they really do want to move up and take somebody, how high did they have this person they moved up for? Or is this like their third or fourth ranked player? And they just, they're sitting there and it's like you're 12 picks in and they're like, man, he's still there. Let's just go get him. He's not going to fall, right? He's not going to come all the way down to 31, but we think this is the second best player in this draft. And we're sitting here at 12. That's the opportunity I think that you take. But if they only think there are 15 players with that kind of grade, how many other teams think there are 15 players? Where did this player they love sit on other people's boards? Did they really jump over teams that were interested in this player? That's why, like, retrospectively, it would be so fascinating. Did they really screw over this team who we think wanted that player? Like, did they really get ahead of him? Did they make that move? I think that would be so cool. I think it would be so cool. Like, you got to turn in your draft board. Like, you have to, at least for first round players. Like, just your first round, your top 32 players. We have to see how you had them ranked as an organization after the fact. And then you could go back, Tommy, and look at how they ranked players historically to, like, evaluate the scouting department. They do that stuff, I'm sure, internally. But man, that would be cool to see as a fan. Could you imagine Hard Knocks? And maybe they do this, I don't know. But Hard Knocks, like, draft edition, where you put a camera in 3 or 4 draft rooms and it's all access.
I mean,
like,
you can find videos of
the
draft
teams
rooms and teams.
the
teams
put
probably
those
editing
out.
it. And yeah.
I'm talking like film crew, like nothing's off the table. We just get like unfettered access after the fact to how that was. Sort of like when you watch like a Mahomes documentary and you get inside access to the trash talk. Like I want that. I want that.
This is a little bit off topic, but with the couple minutes we have left, are you a fan of the movie Draft Day with Kevin Costner? Do you like that?
I thought
I like it too. I mean, it's not realistic. I don't.
No,
think.
People like to poop on it, but it's a movie.
I
don't think.
I'll probably watch it like tomorrow night, like leading up to the draft.
It's not nonfiction. It's not like a documentary. It's a fiction movie.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I like it for the same reason you like Jerry Maguire a little bit, right? And like in that whole process, yes, I thought it was fine. It was fine. It was fine.
I like it. It's one of those, there are a handful of movies that whenever they're on TV, I don't care what I'm doing, I'll stop and watch it. Draft Day, Moneyball is one of those movies when it's on TV.
I finally got around to Moneyball.
And watch Moneyball every single time it's on TV. Twister is one of those movies. Yeah. Whenever it's on TV, I'm going to stop down and watch it. But yeah, I mean, like I like Draft Day, and I've
only watched it once. But I haven't had opportunities to watch it more than once. I did finally get to Moneyball. I'm guarded with Moneyball because that whole thing, like, we're all fascinated with a team that lost in the playoffs. Like, I hated the A's in those years. Hated them because they would always beat the Rangers, and they had these teams where you're like, God, who are these players? They would make me so mad. I hated those teams. So I'll admit that I'm jaded to it, but that was a good movie. That was a good movie. I finally did watch it, but I remember the Rangers had an old broadcaster, Tom Grieve. He literally did everything in the organization. He was like their first round pick, and then he eventually was their manager, and then he was their general manager, and then he was their broadcaster. Like, he did everything. And he used to get so mad. He was like, people act like Billy Beane was the first guy to ever realize on base percentage was an impactful stat. Like, we all knew getting on base was important, but obviously he did a really good job with it. But anywho, that's a sidebar. All right, let's talk about what Andy Reid had to say yesterday, and then we'll get to Felix Johnson later in the hour. A lot of draft talk, a lot of Chiefs talk in this hour of Sports Daily. Your comments welcome. We'll be right back.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood, written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of... It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now. 83101 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems.
Why are they hiding it?
And real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say, drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
And now, digging deeper with the teams you follow, it's another Sports Daily Insider interview on KFH.
And welcome back in. That insider Felix Johnson, our Chiefs insider. Glad to have Felix with us again this week. Field Vision on X, Arrowhead Addict, writing all about the Chiefs and the NFL all the time. We've got Felix Johnson here. Felix, have you recovered from WrestleMania yet?
No. I mean, WrestleMania is one of those things. It's going to take a while. I mean, especially that one. I mean, I'm glad you asked me about it. We can spend this entire segment talking about wrestling if you really want to, but I know that we'd rather talk about the Chiefs. But
you're talking to a guy who grew up on it. I'm not as in tune with it as I used to be. I did watch Mania.
Grow up on it. You were a professional wrestler for a minute.
Right. That's correct.
Is that right?
That's right.
All
yes.
145 pounds of him dripping wet.
At those, in those days, that's probably about my competitive weight. That's right. Yeah.
Somebody
You
sent you through
gonna
a
share?
table and you had to retire. Was that the?
No, what happened was I continued to watch guys go through tables, and I was like, you know what? I should probably do something else. I was more of the, pretty boy mold. I was a thinker in the ring. The minute that the dudes brought out like thumbtacks and I'm like, nah, we're good. We're good.
I'm that way as a fan. Felix, so I can only imagine as a competitor.
What's
that? You gonna share with Felix your name and your catchphrase and all that?
Mickey Blaze, Twisted Steel and Sex Appeal.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
I like
but
it.
I did watch Mania with the kids. It was fun. I watched Mania and the one where John Cena turned bad. That's all the wrestling I watched all year. And so there was a time not that long ago, honestly, that I would try to watch, Raw every week. It's not those days, but Mania was fun. It was fun. My kids were humming the John Cena, so they never knew who he was, and they were humming the John Cena song yesterday. And I was like, man, that took quickly.
That's hilarious that your kids don't know who John Cena is because he's John Cena. Like,
well, he's the only one they were like, oh, I've heard of John Cena.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But they watched him turn into a bad guy, and I was like, oh, do you still like him? And they're like, I think so. Like, it was funny. It was cool.
Yeah, that's the hard part about wrestling. When the bad guys turn, or when the good guys turn bad, you still kind of like them.
Yeah, it's great stuff. But we should probably talk Chiefs. The draft's just a couple of days away. Tommy and I took guesses, like some last minute guesses at what we thought would happen in the draft. Tommy is a draft left tackle at 31. I am a trade up to probably take left tackle or somebody. I think they're moving up. I'm not ready to say it's for a left tackle completely. I think that's most likely, but I think they're moving up. Where is your final 2 days before the draft? The Chiefs are doing this mock, whatever you want to call it, for Felix Johnson.
I like the idea that they trade. I'm not sure if it's up. Just because this isn't that draft class to do that in. I mean, there's not too many quarterbacks, so a lot of the spots are getting slotted down anyway. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see where we go. We've talked about it a handful of times here, where it depends more about the position that they draft. If they draft a left tackle, then obviously there was a news report that came out this week. I believe it was Pete Sweeney who said that Kingsley Suamataia is going to be competing for the left guard spot with Mike Caliendo. So that left tackle spot is effectively open. We'll see if Jalen Moore gets it or whatever the case may be. Whether or not the George Karlaftis contract situation for next year is going to be something that the front office is looking at. They could be drafting edge rusher or interior defensive line just because they need another defensive tackle. And I think that's where they go. To me, that's where they head. Offensive line wise, it's hard for me to say, yeah, go ahead and draft another offensive lineman, another tackle, where they've drafted a tackle just about every year for the last 3 or 4. So it's hard for me to say, yeah, they're going to go back to the college well. That just hasn't worked out for them quite yet. Now, if they're looking for defensive backs, we know that they can draft defensive backs. They've drafted them every single year, and most particularly in 2022. But with this particular position, we haven't seen them draft it well outside of, the offensive line as a whole, center and guard, but we haven't seen them draft tackle well. So I'm not excited for them to draft another tackle if that's where they were to go.
Yeah, the only reason that I think that they might do that is I keep hearing this name Josh Simmons coming up a lot out of Ohio State. A guy that I think a lot of folks at one point had as a top 10 potential pick as a tackle, had an injury. He might fall all the way down. And at that point, maybe the Chiefs could grab him. And that would be something where if they've graded him higher in the draft and you can get him at 31, that might be a little bit of a steal. They've got Jalen Moore in that position where, they can have Simmons develop if that's the direction that they go. One other wild card that I want to get your take on that wouldn't be overly shocking to me in the first round would be a defensive tackle. They've lost Derek Nottie. They don't have him coming back this year. They don't have Turk Wharton coming back this coming year, really outside of Chris Jones, who's another year older. It's Mike Pennell and it's Jerry Tillery, who's another veteran. So is that a position that, you think would be a need for the Chiefs? And if so, is that a first round need or is that maybe more of a middle of a draft need?
Well, I think a lot of the reason for they're losing Turk Wharton and Derek Nottie, guys that have been maybe not a great running mate for Chris Jones, because it's hard to be a number 2 to probably the best defensive tackle in the league in the last 10 years, not named Aaron Donald. So it's going to be harder to be that other guy. So I think that the Chiefs could look, especially earlier in the draft, where those guys tend to go off the board earlier, just because God only makes a handful of 6'6", 330-pound guys that can move the way they do, like Chris Jones does. And so I think that makes the most sense, just because they've drafted defense well. Whether it was the secondary, like we just talked about, we talked about George Karlaftis. They've drafted linebackers well. They've drafted defense pretty well overall. Now, Patrick Mahomes makes your drafting offense work out effectively in one way or another. So to me, it's harder to say that they're going to draft offense in general, unless it were going to be, all right, let's go grab Luther Burden or whatever the case may be. Now, what I will say, no matter what the situation is, especially in these premium positions like left tackle, like edge rusher, and we saw a version of it last year with the quarterback position, if there's 5 or 6 that can go in the first round, you really want to end up with the 5th or 6th one. Now, last year with the quarterback position, it worked out. Bo Nix was the 6th quarterback in the first 12 picks, and it worked out. But not all the time are you getting the 5th or 6th option within the first round, and it's still being your number 1 option, because 5 or 6 guys at that position have already gone, and the Chiefs might be dealing with that with a few teams just ahead of them potentially drafting a left tackle.
Yeah, they don't have the history. To Tommy's point, Trey Smith he fits the Simmons mold, guy that has the high grade, and all of it, no matter what it is, whether it's that, like, they just have flexibility, I think, through this offseason to take a risk. That's why I think they'll trade up. That's why Tommy thinks they'll take a guy who's got an injury risk. I think this is a year to take a risk. Brett Veach said he thinks there are 15 guys. And they're comfortable with the middle. I think that's a smokescreen. I think if they do grade 15 guys, then go get one of those 15 guys. Yeah. What are you holding back from this year in the draft? They brought everybody back. They ran it back. They don't have a clear need right now. So go get a player that you really like. Be aggressive this year.
Well, and that's kind of the thing with the Chiefs, and they haven't had to be as aggressive over the last couple of years because they won the Super Bowl, and it doesn't really matter. And even this year, they were in the Super Bowl. But being that they got beat up as badly as they did, we want to see something aggressive, something that pivots them in a direction like, okay, here's what the Kansas City Chiefs are about to do. Here's this new era. When we've talked about it a handful of times, they could just win the Super Bowl next year and have effectively the same team that they've had over the last 2 years. So it's really hard to say, like, yeah, go out and do that, because they've been incredibly successful. But like what we're saying, they have some needs and certain spots where drafting in the top 15 is the only way you're going to satisfy those needs. If you're going to need a left tackle or a defensive tackle that's going to be a contributor on day one, maybe if it's a receiver that you like in the top 15, if it's one of those Brett Veach guys that you guys just mentioned. And so to me, it's why not? Why not be aggressive? Because you have everything, but there's still something there that needs to be fixed. And you're not going to change the coaching. You're not changing your quarterback. What is that thing? Go get your quarterback a weapon. Go get another a force from the interior pass rush or whatever the case may be, and then point your team in a direction for the coming offseason, next offseason.
Well, I think that brings up a really good question, because I know ideally if you were to ask Brett Veach and Andy Reid, they would say that the objective is to accomplish both of these things. But that's, I think, unrealistic at times. What is a bigger priority? Getting somebody who can help you right this second, or planning long-term? Like, whether it's Travis Kelce and his swan song, or Chris Jones getting older, or maybe not being able to re-sign guys like George Karlaftis or Trent McDuffie, and having, succession plans in place for some of those guys. I know, again, ideally you'd like to be able to check both of those boxes,
sure,
short-term and long-term, but what's a bigger priority?
Windows slammed shut in this league too fast. I mean, you remember the 2017 Jags. Thought they were going to be good for at least a couple years. Maybe not. They were the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Blake Bortles was their quarterback, so you didn't believe that they were going to be the Patriots or the Colts or whatever the case may be. But you believe that they were going to be consistent maybe for a couple years. It doesn't work out all all that well all the time. And even with the Eagles, I think it's kind of interesting when you look at their time between the Super Bowls, where it was they won in 2017. Carson Wentz in the era, and they have to go to Jalen Hurts, and they have a few down years, and then they finally come back with effectively the same team, but that's mostly because the Eagles, they just draft well, and that's how their organization is run. They're kind of one of one in that case. But at any point, at any time, you could be done as a contender in this league. And as Kansas City Chiefs fans, we know for a very long time what it's like not being a contender. And so when you are in that era, you have to make every move in that direction. Now, you're going to be drafting a 21, 22-year-old, so you're going to be heading in that direction, heading into the future anyway. You're going to be pointed in that direction. But at the same time, when you have won 2 out of the last 3 Super Bowls, there's only one way that you can effectively go, intentionally go, if you will.
Felix Johnson joining us, our Chiefs insider. Let's make you our draft insider overall here. You guys have lots of different things happening with field vision, trying to evaluate some of this stuff. I'm fascinated by one player in particular, and it's going to be, the thing we watch that generates the most headlines probably on day one. That's Shedeur Sanders. I saw you, put out a comparison there from field vision. Cam Ward to Baker Mayfield, Shedeur Sanders to Brock Purdy. I actually think Shedeur Sanders reminds me of Baker Mayfield, oddly enough. He's the guy I keep thinking I see when I watch Shedeur Sanders play. What's your take on this quarterback class?
When we were looking at some of these comps, we were looking more towards body type wise and then how that translates into the NFL. So Cam Ward kind of translates more to Baker Mayfield and then Shedeur to Brock Purdy. And I think with Shedeur, a lot of his, and you'll see it in the little write-up with the comp, but he works better when the offense is decent, when everything else is going to work around him. We saw him at Colorado over the last 2 years get better as the team got better. That's pretty effective to me when it comes to saying oh yeah, Brock Purdy is going to be as good as your team is. The 49ers weren't as good this year, therefore he didn't seem as good. So I think that Shedeur is this, he's this personality, and he's going to get more hype and controversy or hate or whatever the case may be because he's this personality. But he's got a chance to be a decent quarterback in this league. Now, I don't think he's going to be what his dad was as a player or what he even may think he's going to be, and he might get drafted in the top 10 probably to the Saints because of their complete mess of a franchise. But I think that Shedeur Sanders is a pretty good quarterback to look at or in this era of the NFL where it's a lot about timing and rhythm, and he can do that, whereas Cam Ward is more of this competitor type where he's not as athletically gifted or whatever the case may be as some of these other guys. Baker Mayfield kind of fits into that, where he's just I'm going to force this win. And over the last 3 years, Baker Mayfield has cemented himself as a top 10 quarterback for good reason, because he's incredibly accurate, but also he's just got this competitive nature about him that just works somehow, some way.
What's the biggest storyline that you're going to be following Thursday night? Is it a team and what a team decides to do? Is it a particular player? What are you keeping your eyes on?
If Shedeur doesn't go to New Orleans at 9, where? Is he going to be sitting there like Aaron Rodgers? Or is he going to be sitting there like a lot of people have comped him to Geno Smith into the second round? And so and I don't think it'll be that way, but that's obviously where everybody's eyes draw to. But he could, if he doesn't go in the top 10, he might not go until the second round.
I'm going to give you my boldest, outrageous, wacky prediction for the first round. If Shedeur Sanders falls past the spot you just mentioned, the Cowboys won't fall past 12.
I hate that.
Yeah, they will.
I hate that.
There's no way that they give Dak Prescott $60 million hours before the season starts and then draft a quarterback
hours before last season started.
No, you're right. And he barely played this year. So it's hard to say oh yeah, let's go ahead and get another guy, a replacement, because this guy isn't good enough.
I think you remember the very well documented stories that Jerry Jones had to be physically restrained from drafting Johnny Manziel. The problem is Jerry Jones never takes quarterbacks in the first round, ever. Never's done it. It's not a thing he does. But that's just going to be too sexy for Jerry to pass up.
See, to me, if Ashton Genty makes it to 12, it's going to be Jerry Jones is going to throw a conniption fit. Like he's going to be like, I get to draft a running back in the first round again. Here we go. Like I think that's either him or Amari Hampton from North Carolina. So to me, Jerry Jones is going to.
They don't have one.
Yeah, and so they need that. I mean, to me, it's just hard to say Jerry Jones, the businessman, is like, I spent $60 million or however much the actual full contract was. And then I'm going to like, you know what? Let's get a better asset and probably a more polarizing asset and a less good asset in Shedeur Sanders, just off rip because he's going to be a rookie and Dak has been in the league for a decade. It's going to be a big difference there. But, I mean, if they would have hired Dion, I'd be all over it, which seemed like a real possibility for a little bit. But, golly, Jerry Jones, if you want to – I'll come on the show the next day if it happens. But, good Lord.
It's again, outrageous, most wild and wacky prediction that I can make. That would be the boldest of them. Felix, what do you guys have planned for draft coverage?
We'll be going live for the first hour, so probably like the first 10 picks or so on the Field Vision social media account, so make sure that you're tapped in there. We'll be live on YouTube, Twitter, or excuse me, X, I guess, Instagram, all that good stuff, and be going through some of the comps that we've been going through here, like Cam Ward to Baker Mayfield, Shedeur Sanders to what was his name, Brock Purdy. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. The draft is always a great time because every team it's the peak amount of hope for everybody. Everybody's about to get the next Hall of Famer and everybody's wrong. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to get things rolling.
We can't either. Follow Felix at Field Vision, all the draft coverage there. Also at Arrowhead Addict. Felix, we'll see if something out of this world happens. Maybe we'll talk to you again on Friday. Maybe we'll do it anyway based on what the Chiefs do.
Yes, sir.
There goes Felix Johnson, our Chiefs insider. Always a lot of fun. Tommy, our obsession with these guys and, assets. This is just, I love it so much. And this is probably the most open it's ever felt, which means it'll probably be very boring, right? That's kind of the way it goes. You think some are going to be, last year's draft, 6 quarterbacks in the first round. It doesn't get any more drama in sports than NFL quarterback stuff like that. I just don't think Shedeur's fallen. I don't think he's going to fall that far.
I don't know. Honestly, it's going to come down, I think, to what the Steelers decide they want to do. Because they got to go get their guy. If they like Shedeur and they don't want to wait on Aaron Rodgers, they could trade up and make that happen.
I'll ask you a question about him specifically, and then we'll go back through some of what Andy Reid had to say when we return. Last full segment of Sports Daily. Stick around. We'll be right back.
66 counties, 4 regions, and 1 weather team that you can trust. Find Storm Team 12 every weekday at 5:30 on the KSCW. Whatever the weather and wherever you are, Storm Team 12 is zooming in, going zone by zone to give you a more in-depth look at the forecast and some science behind the storms so you know more. We're focusing on the forecast so you can focus on what's important to you. Storm Team 12 Weather Focus, 5:30 on the KSCW.
The future of television has arrived. Next Gen TV is here with stunning video, movie theater quality sound, enhanced voice clarity, and interactive features, all upgradable for the future. Learn more at watchnextgentv.com.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
It's the canvas of our imagination. They tell a story. Clouds affect the events of your day. Sometimes they growl, sometimes they inspire, but they're always the messengers of nature's mood, written in the sky. Storm Team 12 understands the language of clouds. We're dedicated to decoding their message so you know what to expect. Behind every cloud, there is a story waiting to be told. Trust Ross Jansen and Storm Team 12, alerting you first to the impact on your life.
When you need help, remember, you're not alone. We are here. We are neighbors. We are together. We are Kansas. We are 12 News.
What is GMFB overtime?
It's Peter, Jamie, Kyle, and Akbar breaking down the NFL 5 days a week.
It's okay to be excited.
It's this, that, and a whole lot of... It's football for everyone.
Weekdays at 10 a.m. on KSCW.
Are following a breaking update.
Every day, all day, stream the stories that have you talking near and far.
Whoever is behind the wheel of this bus is not stopping.
From hundreds of local reporters and meteorologists spanning the country.
Chaos here this morning at the UW campus.
Search LNL for the all-new Local News Live streaming app.
Make yourself known now. 83701 in traffic pursuit.
Oh my God, here.
Investigate TV Plus begins with real people.
We investigate stories that impact you.
And inspire change every day.
Something is broken.
Real problems
Why are they hiding it?
and real solutions.
My daughter was dying in front of me.
What was your reaction when he said that?
Investigate TV Plus, weekdays at 3:30 p.m. on KWCH.
Sometimes people tell us, I don't get it, it's just tea. But let me tell you, we are so much more than just tea.
With 20 plus flavors of sweet and unsweet iced tea, the possibilities are endless. Come on in and try them all for free to find your favorite or get us on the go for your busy lifestyle. And don't miss happy hour every day. So the next time someone tells you it's just tea, tell them to come by and find out why we say drink tea, be happy.
Mornings are busy. We're here to make your mornings better. We report the stories that affect you.
3 more hospital lies from contaminated apple juice just a day after the FDA issued a recall.
We're here to make your mornings better.
Closing east and westbound lanes of K96 for repairs.
With 12 News, you're prepared for your whole day.
Scattered thunderstorms across the state into the afternoon.
Stay a step ahead with 12 News this morning on KWCH and KSCW.
KFH.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is Sports Daily here on KFH, and we are glad to be with you. Shocker baseball tonight on KFH. Wichita State on the road in Manhattan, taking on the Wildcats. You can hear it here. 5:45 coverage begins for Shocker baseball, or you can download or visit the Odyssey app, odyssey.com, and search for KFH. Welcome back in. We're talking football. We'll get to these Luka Doncic, Nico Harrison comments in a minute.
I can't wait.
Can't be real. But we'll do that in a minute. Let's finish up with the Chiefs here real quick. Andy Reid talked yesterday. I think the most interesting things are comments on Jalen Moore and that they felt like he looked good and they knew about him from his days in college because they were watching Mike Caliendo, obviously, for the draft. So they were familiar with him and they felt good about his situation being behind Trent Williams. Andy Reid called arguably the best to ever play the game at the position. So they gave a little insight there. And then I think the most impactful thing that we got yesterday, Tommy, was a confirmation from Andy Reid that Kingsley Suamataia is gonna be a guard. And the competition was with Caliendo, not with Wanye Morris, which I thought was also interesting.
Yeah, I think that Wanye Morris, they believe, if he's going to be on the active roster, he's going to be a backup. He's going to be a guy that, maybe can provide them a little bit of depth, but it doesn't sound like he's in the running, to do anything as a starter, which is probably for the best. I'm just curious to know, how Kingsley Suamataia can end up, developing into a guard position. I know that Andy Reid says that they liked him when they had him in that role briefly. For a little while last season, they had him cover in that role a little bit. I think we all know, and we should all have, appropriate expectations for Suamataia, that he's not going to be coming in as an all-pro type guy like Joe Thuney in that position. Whether it's Suamataia or Mike Caliendo, neither one of those guys are going to be Joe Thuney. But do they have to be Joe Thuney? And I don't think they have to necessarily be. It's going to be a downgrade at that position. We all know that. But as long as they can be competent at left guard, you've got good players around them. Like you've got Creed Humphrey, you've got Trey Smith. Jawan Taylor, for all of his issues, is relatively consistent for the most part. And then the biggest wild card is going to be, what can Jalen Moore do as a starter? I do like the idea, if they feel like Jalen Moore can be their starting left tackle and there's a little bit more stability at that position, then if they do go left tackle in the draft, they can have that person, whoever it ends up being, develop and give them time. They don't have to rush them into action right away, which is what they tried to do with Kingsley Suamataia last year.
Yeah, it is, and it has more to do with the player, I think, at that position than I think it has more to do with the player than the situation for a left tackle. I think Kingsley Suamataia, I'll be surprised if he ever grows into a player that can play left tackle in the NFL. You know what I mean? Like, I think quarterbacks get put in bad situations, and that can really impact ultimately what a guy is capable of. Sam Darnold's a really good example of that. Sam Bradford was a really good example of that. But I think at left tackle physically, like that's not going to get
right. You're right, but the organization certainly didn't put him in a situation to succeed, right? They rushed him into action in week one when they probably shouldn't have done that.
I guess my point is, had Kingsley Suamataia not played a snap at left tackle last year and quote unquote developed, and we were all excited about him being the starting left tackle this year, he'd still not be good at it. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't have mattered for him. I think that's just not where his strength's going to be. Maybe he can be a great left guard. I think that possibility exists, but let's just start with a serviceable left guard and work ourselves up from there, because they got to replace Joe Thuney. Like you've got a Pro Bowler at left guard. You've got to replace now.
Yeah, you're not going to replace that production, but as long as they can be halfway competent, in that role, then that's I think that's the trade-off. You've
Tommy,
got
there is absolutely a possibility that the Chiefs get worse on the offensive line based on the roster right now. I mean, elephant in the room, when you talk about next year and what might happen, to me, it is 100% that offensive line could be worse.
I think the organization is hoping that it balances out, that you have an improvement at left tackle with Jalen Moore, and you have a downgrade at left guard with Joe Thuney gone. And that those two things kind of balance out. I think the ideal situation right now, as I'm sitting here, unless the Chiefs trade up into the top 10 and they get a left tackle that can start in week one in the regular season, which I think is unlikely. But, unless they do that, I think the ideal situation that the organization is hoping for is that it's a wash, and that the offensive line is just like it was a year ago as far as overall rankings, across the league are concerned. You're going to hopefully, fingers crossed, be improved at left tackle. You're going to be worse at left guard, and those two things cancel each other out.
Yeah, it's I think that's a best case scenario.
You're right. I think that's an ideal.
I don't think that's even what they're hoping for. I think that's legitimately the best thing that could possibly, of all the outcomes, be, and depending on what they do in this draft, because they could improve. Like, if they look again,
they could improve.
We did an exercise.
I have a hard time thinking that they could improve right away on the offensive line with whoever, like if they end up drafting an offensive lineman anywhere in the draft. I have a hard time thinking that could help them right this second, and they would be better.
If they traded up for if they traded up for a tackle, I think they absolutely could get better right away, because then you're looking at a situation where no matter what you feel, about the roster as it currently stands, like if you think Jalen Moore's great, nobody thinks Jawan Taylor's great, and he's still sitting over there at right tackle. So, like if I think if they were to trade up, for instance, and take some tackle that's great, then that tackle and Moore become your starters, and you've improved over Jawan Taylor, which is absolutely possible to do. So there's a path for it. Is it likely? Probably not. Is it the plan? Probably not. But, moving up to take a tackle, you're getting a guy. Remember when we did the exercise of like all the tackles and where, like, of the guys that grade out the highest and where they were selected? Like, they're almost always first round, if not top of first round. It's almost like quarterback, right? Like, you kind of got to get one early for them to be that level. So if that were the move they could make, yeah, maybe they could get a little better, but that line could definitely get worse. And that's the scariest thing to me about the season, and why I have no issue if they just continue throwing resources at it now based on what the rest of the offseason looked like, because they addressed so many other needs that they had by basically running it back. We asked Felix about this too, and I do think this is the year to get aggressive in the draft, but also at the same time, like, this run it back thing to me feels like a 1-year proposition. So they will have lots to do next offseason too. Now they're going to have some money to do it, I think, but if the alternative is just loading up and getting depth, that's not a bad thing either, because this particular group, they're not all going to come back again after this, unless the cap just goes up by an insane amount again. All right. Nico Harris. It's so funny. Like the comment yesterday that's just getting roasted for something to the effect of, boy, I knew Luka was important to the fan base. I don't think I knew he was this important to the fan base. I mean, it's the equivalent. Let's take it to other sports. Okay. It's the equivalent of Bobby Witt Jr., if we're talking about local teams. It's the equivalent of Patrick Mahomes. I mean, honestly, it's the equivalent of, let's say, year 3 Patrick Mahomes. It's the equivalent of Bobby Witt Jr. right now to trade arguably the best player in the world while they're a young player and could be the cornerstone of your franchise for 15 more years. Like, to not
like trading Aaron Judge, a couple of years ago. It's like trading Mike Trout early in his career when he was with the Angels. It's like trading Tom Brady when he was at the height of what he was doing with the Patriots. It's all of those things are the same.
Not have a grasp that was impactful to the fans, and then to make just a bad basketball trade too. I don't believe it. I don't believe him. I don't. I know he said it. I don't believe him. I think this was a calculated move to blow that franchise up. I do, because there just is no way somebody gets to that level and can be that out of touch and bad at their job. I mean, there's no way that's not intentional.
I mean, is that a slip of the tongue in the press conference? Like, what are you doing? Like, you clearly, the organization and Nico Harrison specifically should have PR people, that are like, hey, maybe don't say that. Like, if you already look bad enough as it is. The entire situation has been bungled and mismanaged, and you have fans chanting for you to be fired. And there are very, very few things at this point that Nico Harrison could do to make himself look worse. And he did the thing that will make him look worse by saying he didn't realize how important he was to the fans. What are you doing? Like, keep your mouth shut.
I have this vision of the new Mavericks ownership wanting to do something and just saying, you're the man for the job. This is your job. You're going to have to fall on this sword. It's a part of what we're paying you for. Get out there and do it. And we're going to trade him, and everybody's going to hate it. Do you have a thick enough skin?
You. Yeah, they're gonna hate you.
Do you have a thick enough skin to be the guy to deal with that?
And look, like I can get on board honestly with all of that. It's the wrong decision to make, but I can recognize that scenario being a possibility. You know, it happens in business all the time. You know, you've got people that work above you, you know, in corporate or whatever, that are going to tell you to carry out things that you may not necessarily agree with. I totally understand that. I don't know about if Nico Harrison agreed with it or not, but it's part of your job to carry out those duties, to fall on the sword. You're going to be the fall guy. You're going to be the one that's hated, like all of that. I totally respect that scenario, but then own it. Like, don't come out and be like, well, I didn't realize the fans loved him. So like, that's a stupid thing to say. Like, just own it. Like the organization made a calculated decision to move on from Luka Doncic, regardless of what the fans think about him. Like, if you're going to be the bad guy, and you already are, lean into it more. Don't look even more incompetent. That's the wrong decision to make.
It's wild to be. Could you imagine somebody like your boss telling you, yep, this is part of what you got to do? And I know this relates for a lot of people. Like, we all are told to do things that we have to do that we don't want to, and we don't like, and we don't agree with. But this one's career suicide. Right. Nico Harrison's never getting another front office job in the NBA. Like, it's this or bust. So imagine being told that, but also knowing this is it, though. Like, you're never getting another opportunity at this if you do this. And if you don't, they're probably going to fire you.
But if that's the situation, again, we don't know if it is or not, but if that's the situation from ownership, then you would think that Harrison then has an extremely long leash because he's carrying out the wishes of his ownership. And that's perfectly fine. But it's situations like that press conference yesterday where he looks like an imbecile that would make ownership, at least in my mind, be like, man, like, you carried out what we wanted you to do and you're the bad guy and we appreciate that. But you're making yourself look worse right now.
It's the worst trade we've ever seen. Not because Luka, it has nothing to do with what Luka ultimately does in his career. You could have made the case that it was the best decision to trade Luka. That's not the problem. The problem is you got nothing for him in relative terms to what players get back in trades in the NBA. That's the problem. We'll be right back. More Sports Daily after this.